The creature from the carriage continued to wail into the night, yet none of my neighbours appeared to react. Was this sound only audible to those that the monster haunted? As I was across the street, it seemed I was, in part, insulated from the effect. But the doctor was in supreme discomfort on the ground beside one of the carriage's wheels. In spite of his clear hurt, the doctor looked up at me, and I was convinced he was checking to see that I was not suffering from the same affliction. Why did he care so much when he was in such evident pain? I could not abandon him to this, when I felt so strongly that he was only so intimately involved because of me. I advanced quickly but cautiously, and felt the intensity of the creature's call with every step. I looked on in horror as the creature reached out towards the doctor, and from some recess of my fear I believed that the monster's touch would mean death. The closer I reached, the more details I could pick out. There was no iris to the eyes, but a boiling, roiling mass of vibrant green. The teeth were far more pointed than anything a human should have, and the body appeared to have 3 clawed hands protruding from its chest. This devilish visage brought tears to my face, and I considered fleeing. I dashed such a cowardly intention from my thoughts when I returned my gaze to the prostrate doctor, still clutching his head, his mouth wide open in a silent scream. I did the only thing that was available to me. I reached out to the doctor to at least be with him at the end. But as soon as I touched the strange man's lapels, the creature fell back into the depths of the ghostly carriage. The door slammed shut, and it appeared to race away faster than usual. I expected Saunders to now notice our absence and barrel into the street with a far stronger reprimand than the previous night, but the 2 of us were left to the night's whims. I dropped to the ground beside my new friend as he gradually regained his composure. My heart had not beat this fast in a number of decades. There should have been a far greater trepidation within me that this decision to try to assist the doctor would be my final act. But I could not think of a more fitting death than amid a tremendous escapade such as this. In fact, my only sadness was that my life had not been more full of such moments of wonder. "Did we win?" the doctor spluttered. "No, doctor, we are dirty and defeated in the street." I gestured around us, then laughed. "But we have survived another encounter." "What an outlook, Aloysius. When this is over, want to see the stars?" My laugh was curtailed by a mental faintness. Will this be over? Surely there is no way we can stop this, other than... The doctor sat up and dusted himself down. "Other than... That creature is a banshee, and their scream means only one thing. I am to die." Then I fell into darkness and awoke hours later to the scent of bacon and eggs sizzling in a pan. Having shed a knitted blanket draped upon me, I followed my nose into my kitchen to find an aproned doctor whistling to himself at the stove. "Ah, Aloysius back with us. Marvellous. Seems you rather overexerted yourself last night. Not a great look, passing out in the street. But I carried you inside, made sure you were comfortable and warm and breathing, and let you sleep it off. Nothing better after a blast of Ghoulian interference." The doctor shook and shimmied a frying pan as he spoke, careful not to let any of the sustenance burn. He placed the breakfast on a plate and handed it to me. "Also tea. I spent about half an hour trying it out earlier. Seems I like it black with a dash of sugar these days, and a handful of biscuits too. Have they invented ginger nuts yet? They're delicious." I coughed loudly. "Doctor, how much have you slept? You are acting like a maniac," he stuttered. I didn't find the time. So much to think about." I wanted to admonish him further, to remonstrate on the significance of rest, but given that I had not slept soundly for many months, I hardly felt in such a position. Instead, I sat down with the food and began to eat. "How are you feeling?" he asked. I dismissed the usual aches and pains of my age, and the flurry of concerns my nocturnal revelation had unearthed, offering only a mild platitude. I was adequately well. The doctor glared at me disbelievingly. "Did you bang your head so badly you forgot what a doctor is?" My chuckle was hearty. "You are no doctor of medicine, friend, but a scientist, historian, a Renaissance man." The doctor had the air of one impressed in a way that met their expectations, like a proud teacher watching a student pass an exam. "You've read me well, but I still know how to use one of these." He pulled a stethoscope from the apron's pocket and waved it in my general direction. "Your heart is still beating, so is nothing that you need worry about." That silenced a man who I suspected was rarely at a loss for words. He looked at me, longing to discuss it further, but I refused. Since he clearly knew the truth, what more was there to be said? We therefore ate and drank in peace. This breakfast was far superior to the standard fare, but I begrudged asking how he had managed such flavourful food. Once I had finished and gorged on the majority of what the doctor claimed he did not have the stomach to eat, he spoke. "What do you know about banshees?" "A banshee," I explained, "is a spirit from Irish folklore, famed for their ability to predict a forthcoming death with their unsettling wail, usually passed down through a family's lineage." I explained various theories about the etymological origins of the name, listed a plethora of descriptions of their appearances through a selection of legends, and even recited short passages from Old Irish, though there is not enough left in my candle to note all of this down here. I am a student of humanity and our assorted histories, but one corner of my research has always had a folkloric tinge. There must be a grain of truth to them. Don't you agree, Doctor? Something flickered behind his eyes, a memory he tried to hide from me, one I decided not to pry into. There was far more to this doctor than met the eye. "And what makes you think this creature's a banshee? You're right about the cloaked women, the constant weeping, the mournful lamentations, but they aren't known for their ability to drive carriages. And I admit I was in quite a lot of mental anguish at the time, so didn't get the best look, but whatever was inside that carriage didn't look quite the same as you described." The doctor made very salient points, one that I was unable to argue against. But I knew myself to be right, without a shadow of a doubt, following what I had seen. "Have you ever felt something in your bones so strongly that you know it must be the truth?" The doctor nodded. "Well, Doctor, this is such a case. It has come to herald my death. There is no fighting it." "You felt a connection with the creature?" It was my turn to nod in the affirmative. "You felt it at the medium's house and lied to me about it." I did not have the words to dispute this. In return, the doctor looked disappointed rather than angered. Yet there was another dimension to this tale. When the doctor's darkened eyes had locked onto mine in Madame de la Star's abode, I had been transported to a verdant world of vast sloping hillsides and unusually iridescent flora. I could not tear my eyes from the pink and purple blossoms, the curious scaled creatures scampering around in the undergrowth, the shimmering lights in the cloudless orange sky, until a fog began to roll in, the same shining green as the carriage. And from within this dreaded vapour came the creature. It reached out to me, mouth agape in a horrifying scream. It was keening, as banshees are said to do, lamenting vocally for the dead or dying. Or perhaps I have known us to be linked since that first visitation. It seeks me, and I seek it somehow. I am old and frail, and every morning see my skin straining against my skeletal construction. Perhaps I saw this as a blessing, to know it was close, to give me time to get my affairs in order and say my final goodbyes. But who was left to hear them? My niece and my footman both see me as a burden, and almost all of my friends have beaten me to the grave. Recent years have been a cavalcade of tragedies, and mine will be the last. You're close, Aloysius, but not quite. Would you do me the honour of accompanying me to my, transport? I can show you the truth when we get there. As I dressed, I could not fathom what the doctor could possibly have within a vehicle that would resolve any question, let alone one about a supernatural presence. He refused to answer anything I posed to him as we travelled, merely smirking, until we arrived at a small wooden hut on the outskirts of the city. It looked large enough to house one person, and a handful of small gardening tools, and could not store any form of transportation, lest you placed a bicycle vertically rather than horizontally. Yet that baffled me further. Had the doctor brought us out here, so far away, for a penny farthing? To say that I was unimpressed is a remarkable understatement, but my confusion would not dampen the doctor's mood. He waited until our driver had left before retrieving a metallic key from his pocket. He handed it to me with a gleeful expression, then pointed at the lock on the front of the hut. This felt like a trick, like a jack was about to bounce from the box to give me a fright, but following his support thus far, I did as instructed and turned the key in the lock. I pushed the door open, but the inside space was darker than expected. I glanced around the side of the shed again. Given its minute depth and the moderate midday weather, I should be able to see the far side clearly. I offered the man a quizzical look. In response, he gestured inside once again. I stepped over the threshold and leaned into the shed, and from the first second I could not believe my eyes. Somehow, inside this small wooden hut was a room the size of a house. Light emerged from an unknown source as I stepped inside, as if awakening to my presence. The doctor was hot on my heels, grinning like a child with a bag full of confectionery. "This is impossible," I whispered. In every direction I turned, I saw a new marvel, yet the doctor paced the room like it was quotidian in nature. I realized that this was what he referred to. This was his transport. "Welcome to my TARDIS." He spread his arms wide, gesturing joyfully. "It is the invention of extraterrestrial beings capable of travelling through time and space. It has a unique relationship with dimensional science. That's how it's bigger inside than it is outside. What do you think?" The room had a dark blue complexion, which gave it an ominous and dynamic energy. Adorning the walls was a tessellating pattern of circular indents. One of these was ajar, revealing various trinkets within, such as an overflowing box of ancient-looking jewellery. The walls were jagged, protruding, alive. The doctor stood in the centre, beside a console covered in a gallimaufry of indecipherable switches, dials, and buttons. It was as beautiful as it was disorienting. I felt faint again. The doctor moved to catch me, fearing I would fall, but I found myself in time and steadied. It makes me wish I was a young man, that I had enough time left to understand even a fraction of this. The doctor applauded. "That's one of the best answers I've ever had. You're an alien, like that thing in the carriage." "Yes, but not like it. I'm a Time Lord, not one of the Famspan dignitaries." That name rang around my head. "I like you, Aloysius. You have a spark that I admire, and I respect you, so I'm going to tell you the truth, even though it isn't all good." The doctor hopped around this central console like an overexcited rabbit as he touched various switches, adjusted dials, cackled at his own intellect. It was a nonsense to me, utterly impenetrable and seemingly disconnected as he moved, yet there was an undoubted grace to his actions. Here was a captain at the helm of his ship. "I am a caveman to you," I said. The doctor stopped midway through whatever his next step was. I believe I interrupted his train of thought. He frowned at me. "I do not mean it in spite or jealousy, sir. It is plainly an observation." The doctor took my aching hand in his and squeezed reassuringly. "My kind has developed technologies that humanity will struggle to ever achieve, yes, but that is not the only marker of success and advancement, my friend. Many of my kind lack the emotional intelligence or irrepressible creativity that humanity is famous for across the cosmos. So know this, Aloysius Smythe. Every time you look up to me, know that I am doing the same to you." The doctor spiraled away from our conversation and pressed a final flurry of switches. One of the walls of his vessel fizzed with transforming light as he showed me the aforementioned truth. The wall resolved into an image of a strange metal box that appeared to be in motion, as if thrown like a ball. This is a spaceship. It travels from one planet to another. At this, I scoffed. Apologies if that was patronising. I was unsure where to pitch, given your Victorian sensibilities. It was my turn to indicate the grandeur of this room. I may not be as perspicacious as you, Doctor, but even I cannot have missed the significance of where we are now. Clearly, otherworlders must have a way of traversing the dark void beyond our Earth. Otherwise, how else would these dignitaries be here? Or you, for that matter. So, assume my elderly brain is still capable of basic cognizance, eh? If you say something I cannot understand, I will ask. He half bowed with a cheeky grin. Oh, how I wish I could have stayed in that vessel and lived the remainder of my days in the company of this man. This ship belongs to the Famspan dignitaries. I sense you aren't that bothered about the mailing nacelles or the quantic vents. No? Cool. This ship crashed on Earth, very near to your house. It's powered by Ghoulian energy, a rather special form of mental power, hence it being slightly telepathic. So when the ship crashed, it was only partly perceivable. It was half here and half not. The Doctor agreed. The carriage is a distress call from the ship's captain. They're reaching out and asking for help. It only looks like a carriage to blend in telepathic expectations and all that. I was keeping up to a varying degree, admittedly, but enough to understand the main thrust of his argument. What can we do to help? That's where it gets not good. The pattern the carriage is taking is drawing a circuit. If we put the right energy in it, the Famspan dignitaries can convert it to repair and take off. The Doctor refused to meet my eyes. This scared me more than the trauma of witnessing the banshee wail at me. Are you familiar with the law of conservation of energy? This I understood, though given how quickly the Doctor's mind appeared to work and the tremendously complicated nature of his vessel, it was clear he understood it far better. I had read Newton, Leibniz, Bernoulli, and conversed about their meanings with various associates. The Doctor's version rambled on, so I have proceeded. Energy is neither created nor destroyed, but changes state from one form to another. Like burning a candle, you're converting the wax and the wick into heat and light, was his preferred example, after proffering others that belonged to a century beyond mine, one inhabited by another friend by the name of Freya, then others from the time of Stephen and Vicky. Think about life, the Doctor instructed. You're full of energy, but when you die, that energy has to go somewhere. Most obviously towards decomposition, but a relatively small percentage of that energy is converted into a Ghoulian emission. The dignitaries power their spaceship on death energy, I said, the depressing conclusion clear to me. They're not killers, the Doctor qualified. They simply harvest the natural resources. Most species have no use for Ghoulian emissions. Heck, many are wiped out before they even realise it's there. So there's no harm. But this ship crashed and the engine is phasing. That's why the carriage fades in and out. Won't be long until they won't be able to do even that. They need a direct source. I died recently. I hoped there would be enough of a residual Ghoulian trace on me to help, but... He stopped speaking when he spotted my mouth was agape in shock, but his earnest expression told me he spoke the truth. It's a trick of my kind, part of my biology. These creatures want me. They know I do not have long left. The Doctor breathed in slowly, exhaled carefully. He did not want to deliver the prognosis. I think the reason it zeroed in on you was because you were the only person in the area close to, well, quite. But we'll think of something. We'll save the Famspan dignitaries and you. That's what I do. Clever solutions. Just you watch. He beamed as he examined a dial with far greater interest than it warranted. I pulled myself up to my full height. I have 2 questions for you, Doctor. First, how much longer will this haunting last? Second, how many of these dignitaries are aboard the space carriage? It was immediately apparent to me that the Doctor wished to answer neither question, for fear of what it would reveal. I would appreciate it if you look me in the eye when you answer, sir. So he did. My screwdriver took readings when we greeted them last night. They've got a while left, which is handy because this will be a tricky solve. And you met the captain, so probably just the captain. He lied, twice, and it pained him to do so. Clearly, these creatures did not have the luxury of time, since I had neglected to help them sooner, and there were more of them in their carriage than my single soul. It was clear there was only one course of action available, but looking at the doctor, I knew he would take my place if he could, swallow the sacrifice to save a relative stranger. My face became stoic. He could not know I had deduced this truth. I'm going to get some equipment from my storeroom, that's why we came. He indicated an interior door I had not yet noticed. That should help. Problem is, I can't move my TARDIS closer. The materialization will squash the Ghoulian loop. This whole thing needs delicacy. No sooner had he disappeared through that door when I fervently searched for egress. "How do I get out of here?" I hissed, and a light from above indicated a sizable switch. Pulling it opened a door, and I retreated to the outside world, pulling the door closed behind me. I have transcribed these events on my return journey, buffeted by the cab's uneven progress across London streets. Tonight will be the final time these creatures suffer. I am leaving this beside my last will and testament. If you are reading this, Doctor, thank you for opening my eyes. Not everything that goes bump in the night need be feared, but should sometimes be embraced. It won't take a genius in handwriting analysis to spot that the penmanship's changed. Aloysius left this account on his desk, and while I hate endings, I equally despise unfinished things, and so thought it fitting to pick up his fountain pen and write down the remaining events, to the best of my ability, here, in his honour. I got a little distracted in my lab. It can't have been that long. But by the time I noticed Aloysius hadn't followed me, he must have taken the cab and was halfway back to his house. I grunted and groaning in Gallifreyan before grabbing Mel's old bike and cycling as fast as I could across London. Night had fallen, and the Famspan dignitaries were back for one last attempt at rescue. This wasn't their fault. I was the one that felt the blame, though. If I had lied better to Aloysius, he wouldn't have thought to rush off like that. I reached his house with moments to spare, not getting particularly lost en route. He was waiting in the street. "I had hoped you wouldn't get here in time." I leapt from the bike as I could hear the carriage hot on my heels. "You don't have to sacrifice yourself. Let me. I'm hardier. I'll bounce back." "I'm dying anyway. That's why the creatures came to me. There's no point in us both dying." He patted me on the shoulder. "I am at peace with it. This can be my defining act." I pulled the stethoscope from my pocket and checked him over. We exchanged a quiet look. The carriage pulled up alongside us both, and the door opened. The dignitary captain didn't attack me this time, looking only at Aloysius. The alien reached out and took the human's hand to take him into the carriage, but I wasn't giving up that easily. I clambered up with Aloysius, in spite of the violent hissing noise from the Famspan dignitary that ricocheted around my brain like a roller coaster off the tracks. "I'm not standing in your way, but I do have a request." Both the Famspan dignitary and Aloysius looked at me in confusion. They let me act. Once inside the carriage, the telepathic disguise started to fade, so I could see exposed wiring, a neutrino charger, a subatomic particle inverter, all perfect for what I needed. With my trusty sonic screwdriver to hand, I began a very rudimentary repair, patching up any cracks in the system to the best of my ability. "Wow, this was a bad crash landing. I'd have a word with your captain." The Famspan dignitary hissed again, clearly not taking the joke well. "Not your fault, I know. Pipe down." Aloysius crouched down beside me. "What are you doing, Doctor?" I worked faster, aware of how close the ship was from phasing out of reality for good, taking us both with it. Kindness should always be rewarded with kindness, so I'm doing something special for you, Aloysius. His breathing was fragile. With one hand I continued my band-aid repairs, with the other I pressed against his chest. His heart was failing. I had known this moment was coming as soon as we met, but I had hoped it could be avoided. His walking away from the TARDIS had sealed his fate. Humans and their compassion. I turned to the captain. "Take off. Go into orbit. The engines will hold." Probably. I filled them with a weak substitute, but it should be enough. Just do it! It was wrong to yell, but I didn't have time for niceties. I so rarely do. The Famspan dignitary did as instructed, and the craft veered up into space, spluttering and rasping like a broken-down car. I held Aloysius's hand and willed him to stay with us for a little longer. "Can we see outside?" The Famspan dignitary waved a hand, and a panel became transparent. We looked out at the stars and admired the beauty of the universe. Thank you, Aloysius whispered. He was crying. And then, he wasn't. It took seconds for the dignitary captain to convert the Ghoulian energy into a usable form, and the spaceship sounded far healthier. They would live on and complete their journey, thanks to Aloysius. Thanks to my friend. They were kind enough to return us to Earth after explained that we wouldn't survive re-entry unprotected. I carried Aloysius to his bed and left him to his final rest. I was going to leave when I spotted his handwritten papers and was, admittedly, a little nosy. Good thing I was. Aloysius will be found when his footman tries to wake him for breakfast. Everyone will believe his heart gave out in his sleep, a peaceful end. But he died among the stars, in awe and excitement. I hope I'll go the same way. I don't want the world thinking he was crazy in his final days, so I'll keep these papers with me in the TARDIS to better remember him. Oh, if only there had been more time. Sleep well, Aloysius Smythe. From your friend, the Doctor.